Hi, I'm Joey Gorman. This is for the geology extra credit. I did my topic on the 2010 Guatemalan city sinkhole. It's about a 20-meter wide, 30-meter deep sinkhole that appeared because a huge void underneath the ground happened, and so the gravity just pulled all the dirt through. What's special about this one is it's a perfect circle. Looks completely unnatural. That's because largely it is. The geological background for the Guatemalan area is about 600 feet of underground soil is mainly just volcanic ash and pumice, which is extremely porous, has a lot of vesicles, really holy, so water really likes to rush through and take a bunch of particles when it does that. This is because Guatemala is a big part of the Ring of Fire, active volcanoes along the edges of continents because of tectonic plates, especially in the Guatemalan area because in the Cocos Caribbean Plate subduction zone. So the Cocos Plate subducts underneath the Caribbean Plate, creates a bunch of rings of volcanoes around the area. Guatemala has 3 or 5 active volcanoes currently. They go off pretty regularly. The Pacaya one is the reason for why Guatemala City has so much volcanic ash in its soil. Pacaya started going off about 1967. It was dormant for like 100 years before that, but it's been going off regularly since then. So it contributed to most of the ash in the soil there. Again, these materials are very porous, very easy to erode with water. How this particular pitfall happened, the pipes in the area were very, old and not very well made. So when the water main erupted, water filled in and created a cavity through the volcanic ash. And as Tropical Storm Agatha happened, a bunch of rainwater and poor drainage led to buildup of water from both the pipes and the rainfall, to the point where there was like a huge gap underneath the soil. So as water builds up, it eats into this cavity. There's nothing holding the topsoil up, and so it just collapsed perfectly down. Who's responsible for this? Originally, they thought it was a natural occurrence, even though it was a perfect circle. That's usually called a karst. Is that how you say it? But yeah. Usually that's because limestone or dolostone erodes because of water, but there was none in this case, and it was not completely natural because of how the pipes were messed up. Infrastructure failures such as the pipes being corroded and poor drainage. Like the soil itself is not very good for drainage. Water just seeps straight down through it. They don't do a lot of geotechnical data collection when they build buildings or do new developments in Guatemala City at that time. So they weren't really aware of the dangers they had beneath the soil. Hazardous engineering impacts. Sadly, one person did die during the event, and a large portion of the factory was damaged, which sort of, economic output, and we don't want anybody dying because of things we could have fixed. But yeah, no, it definitely demonstrated the dangers of building on volcanic soils to the people of Guatemala and to people in South America at large. Wasn't really a major concern up until this point. And yeah, it showed a lot of advantages to geotechnical data being used. Mitigation efforts, they did fill the sinkhole with a bunch of concrete, aggregate and stuff so they could build it more stable because there was no hope of putting dirt back in there. They wanted to make sure it was really solid. They replaced and broke the sewer lines that were connected to it, make sure they were in good condition and usable. They tried doing some for the surrounding area, only so much you can do with government efforts and government funds. But yeah, I know they began mapping for cavities and definitely increased the monitoring of drainage systems so that they could avoid having more catastrophes like this. Definitely increased the importance in spending on geotechnical data. At the spot where it occurred, nothing else has happened since. They, properly fixed it up. They got a lot of aid for that. But unfortunately, this has happened again. 7 years later in 2017, there was another sinkhole occurrence. They haven't been able to fix everything. They don't have the funds to fix all the pipes. They're still having drainage and sewage problems. And it likely will happen again unless they have major infrastructure changes and a crazy amount of investment into the area itself. Takeaways we can take away from this as civil engineers is that, environmental factors and poor infrastructure tend to compound on themselves. The only way to be prepared for, ecological damages like from erosion and stuff like this, or, major tropical storms affecting areas, is to have infrastructure ready in place when it happens. Too much times we see where infrastructure gets developed after a major travesty, but we don't want to get to that point. It's way easier just to fix things ahead of time. And so yeah, environmental disasters and the geological things compound. Sewage design needs to account for extreme rainfall. The tropical storm added so much water to this because it wasn't drained properly. And so, if you have pipes coming in through water, you have erosive soil that you didn't think about building on, and then you got rainwater coming in, it's just a horrible disaster that so little planning went into all these buildings that this was bound to happen. I use my references. Thanks for listening if you talk about this. Have a good day.